Hi, this is Kenny Albert. You're listening to the Broadway Hat Podcast with your host, Kyle Hall, the #1 podcast for all things Rangers hockey.
Welcome back to the Broadway Hat Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hall, and what a week for the New York Rangers. One of the hottest teams in hockey now. 5 straight wins for the Rangers. Listen, this team is rolling at the right time, and Chris Drury, the Ranger fans have been asking for it since last season. He finally brings in that top-line right winger and Tarasenko from the St. Louis Blues. I mean, what a deal. What a deal. I could not believe it when I saw it. The Rangers acquire a 6-time 30-goal scorer off his 4th All-Star game. I know he's had a down year this year, but St. Louis has not been very good. He's been playing with some centers that aren't his usual guy. Ryan O'Reilly's been out, so he's having a little bit of a down year. But yeah, Tarasenko to this lineup, and you think Panarin's happy? You see the role he's on now? We'll get to him in a minute. But yeah, Tarasenko. You bring in also a defenseman, which you wanted. You want a bigger defenseman. That's what the Rangers have kind of aimed to have in that 6th role back there in Mikkola. And he's not a top line defenseman, but he gets it done. What a terrible debut though for him, but he bounced back in the second game. But you kill 2 birds with one stone there, one trade. You get your right winger, you get your defenseman to come in, and you give up basically nothing. Somehow Chris Drury convinced St. Louis to take back Sammy Blais, which is a win in itself. Poor guy just couldn't get it done in New York. Listen, don't want to bash him, but he just couldn't get it done in New York. It wasn't the fit. So he gets Sammy Blais out of the picture. He trades the worst of their first-round picks, and then a 4th round, which will be a 3rd-round pick, so they'll make the playoffs this year. And then Hunter Skinner, who this year has really played mostly in the East Coast League. I would make that trade every day of the week. Every day of the week. And Tarasenko comes in, and a storybook start to his Ranger career. Scores, 3 minutes into the game at MSG. Place almost blew the roof off the place. Warm-ups, he had a standing ovation, crazy ovation when he got announced in the starting lineup. So yeah, he's excited to be there. He said how thrilled he is. Panarin, he's got his best friend there, now one of his closest friends now, and he goes out there, has a big game with him the first night, and scores 4 goals against Carolina on Saturday night, and the Rangers beat Carolina again. So now 2-0 against Carolina this year, and they've since last year in the playoffs, obviously, they won the last 2 games in that series, and now they've won the first 2. They've won 4 straight against Carolina going back to the playoffs last year, a team that they're chasing in the standings now. Carolina's just 6 points ahead of the Rangers, but huge trade. You got to tip your hat to Chris Drury. He knew exactly what the team needed, and he knocked this trade out of the park. And you keep basically all your assets, all your young players, all your draft picks that are kind of, the Offmans of the world, and the Korzaks, and the Cooley, who's obviously made his NHL debut now, but you keep everybody there, and you really trade away, a guy who wasn't going to fit into this team, and then a couple lottery pick draft picks, and a guy who right now hasn't really made an impact in the AHL level. So, home run trade, and it signifies to this team. This team came out with so much juice on Friday night, and I think it was Zibanejad that said, it shows the team that the front office believes in them, and that, we're adding to this team because we believe this team has what it takes to go all the way. And you look up and down this roster, there's not a lot of holes. This is one of the best rosters the Rangers have had in a very long time. Last year they were good too, but this team, because the younger kids are getting older, you got Filipino right now who is absolutely on fire. This roster is really good. Trouba's turned his game around. Halak's been fantastic in net 7 in a row now. This team is built to win. They are built to win, and the last piece that they need, I would like to see a little bit more grit come in on a 4th liner. And last week, Larry Brooks had it that he floated out the name Tanner Jeannot, who is with the Nashville Predators, one of the toughest guys in the league, had an outstanding rookie season. As a guy who maybe the Rangers can go after. And I don't know if Nashville's making him available or not, but if he is available, and going back also, Kravtsov now has again requested a trade, which is the 3rd time he's requested a trade. So is that a trade partner? Because obviously Kravtsov's not here for the long run. He's going to get dealt. So who the Rangers bring in? Because obviously they're in a win-now mode. You're not sending Kravtsov off, hopefully, for like a 2nd or 3rd rounder. That's pretty much what his value is right now. I hope they don't send him out for a draft pick. I want to see a player come in that can help them today, right now, with his current roster. Because like we were saying, they went out and they got the big guy. They got the trade of Tarasenko. They want to win now. If you can bring in a Janot and a draft pick, or for Kravtsov and a draft pick, I mean, that's a huge addition to this team. That's a huge addition. Plus, he plays a very similar game to a Barclay Goodrow, and he's a name that might be moved in this offseason because of the cap issues and trying to get a Keandre Miller and a Lafreniere signed this offseason. Is Hedl up too? I think too, but they have a couple of these young kids they got to sign, and obviously Barclay Goodrow, he's been a great player for them. He's been, I think, better than I expected him to be for the Rangers, but his contract and what his role is on the team, maybe he's a little too high. Maybe that's the guy they move out. You have a Janot who does pretty much the same stuff that Goodrow would do, but at a much cheaper $800,000 contract. Might be a better trade-out, but I think he just helps his team right now, and you need a little bit more grit when you go up against, because you're going to have to go through Tampa or Carolina who has a little grit there. And I think especially Tampa, like we saw last year in the playoffs, they gotta have someone, Patty Maroon's back there bruising guys. They don't have a Reeves this year. And as much as you can say, Trouba can do it, Trouba can't do it every night. And it's tough to have a defenseman be in that role, because if they do take that penalty, now Trouba's missing 5 minutes or whatever it is of the game, whereas if you have a fourth liner go out there and do it and do some dirty work, not as bad. Two other guys to watch, apparently Arizona's getting ready to clean up their shop and just trade everybody away. But I wrote about this a while ago. Nick Ritchie is available, and also Nick Bukestad is also available. So also two names to watch out for as possible new additions to the Rangers at here the deadline. The big thing for the Tarasenko trade is they kept 50% of the salary. So now the Rangers have $1.2 million going to the trade deadline. They got some money to play around with there a little bit. So they're not out of the market yet. I still think they add one guy. Like I said, I think it's going to be a fourth liner, a depth player, maybe a Tyler Mott. Who knows? Bring him back, a little reunion there. But they're going to bring someone else in. I can almost guarantee that they're going to bring someone else in because Chris Drury sees his team as a win. This is his season to win. This is the window. This is the window's open right now. They need to capitalize on it. This is the winning. This is how they have to do it right now. So, is the Patrick Kane deal dead? Who knows? Obviously, he came out and said he was very upset. The Rangers didn't, wait for him. Very odd situation considering he basically said he was going to hold off until right before the trade deadline. He sees them make a trade, and he comes out and is like, I'm upset the Rangers made a move. I want to go there. Very weird situation. So maybe if Kane pushes that situation, it's going to be very tough to make that trade with the current salary cap. But who knows? Maybe they bring a third team in and figure it out that way. I don't see Patrick Kane coming to the Rangers, and a lot of Ranger fans are still pushing for him to be here. I personally don't see it happening. It's going to be very tough to do that with a cap situation. But what a week for the Rangers. Great wins. So last Monday, obviously, we recorded before the game, and I kind of wish I recorded after. But, man, one of the best regular season games I've ever been to against the Flames last week. I had everything, the Trouba fights, and I forget who it was. I think it was Mike Rupp who said it, but, you have Trouba kill a guy, then fight the guy, knock the guy out, basically, and then they get a power play and they score a goal. It's like the ultimate disrespect and slap in the face of the team. Loved it. Loved the game. It was an unbelievable game. It was one of the better regular season games I've ever been to. So that was great. That kind of kickstarted this Rangers All-Star, from the All-Star break, kickstarted them. I mean, the huge win in Carolina on Saturday night. Seattle's a very good team, and they play very well there. But, Panarin was 4 goals Saturday night, really took that game over. And now they have a tough, it's always tough in Western Canada, to Calgary, who is going to be looking for a little redemption. I think it's true, but I think he's going to keep his head on a swivel there for Mr. Lucic, who will be definitely looking for him. And then also you go to Edmonton and just hope that Connor McDavid doesn't embarrass you like last year where he skated through 17 Rangers and, made, I think it was Gorgiev look terrible in that. That'll be highlighted. That highlight will be playing at his Hall of Fame induction. That was an incredible play by him. So you don't get embarrassed by McDavid, and then hopefully Trouba doesn't get roughed up too much in Calgary and gets out of there alive, because they'll be gunning for him Friday night. But this is the last time the Rangers will play a game later than 8 p.m. too. So a couple 10 p.m. starts are tough. Believe me, 2 kids, it's tough watching 10 p.m. games. But I think the furthest they go west after this is St. Louis. And, we'll see our old friend Sammy Blais, who actually scored a goal in his Blues debut, funny enough. Of course he did. But the farthest they go west is St. Louis, and the latest game time will be 8 p.m. after this week. So that's nice. That's always, Obviously a plus to keep it here on the East Coast. But the Rangers are rolling. I mean, it's been great to watch them. Tarasenko, unbelievable first game with the goal. So, yeah, it's very exciting to be a Ranger fan right now. And you're 3 points behind the Devils, 6 behind Carolina, so you're right there. Maybe you don't reach Carolina. It would be nice to get some home ice advantage there in the first round against whoever you play, probably New Jersey. That would be nice to try to get some home ice advantage there. But all in all, when you're asking for just a fourth line ad, the team's in good shape. And roster's in good shape. And I had to call him last second to come in, and we love him, Colin Stephenson of Newsday. Had to call him last second to bring him in to talk about all the latest Ranger news, obviously, with the Kravtsov trade requests and the big trade. Had to get him on last minute. So he joins us live from Vancouver right before Rangers practice. So I can't thank him enough for jumping on quick. But we talk about all the latest stuff that you need to know and the new lines and everything else going on with the team. So I really appreciate him taking the last second time to jump on with us. But before we send our interview with Colin, I do want to tell you about our sponsors over at InTheClutch.com. Listen, playoff season's almost here for the NHL. MLB's just starting off spring training. NBA's almost in playoff mode. You got to get your gear. I know the NFL is not going to their off season, but you got to get your gear now for your teams. Go to InTheClutch.com. Use promo code Broadway. You save 10% off. So go on there, check it out. They got some great gear in there. Buy some of our Ranger merch on there. Again, use the code Broadway at InTheClutch.com and go get your gear today. All right, we're now joined by our good friend. He's back again, of course, with all the big Ranger news. We had to get him back on live from Vancouver. Colin Stephenson does a great job covering the Rangers for Newsday. Thanks so much for jumping back on, buddy.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. It's been quite the last few days, hasn't it?
So I was gonna text you last week with the trade, and I was like, I should get him on. Then I was gonna hold off on texting you because I was like, maybe I'll get him close to the trade deadline. And then this morning, Kravtsov comes out with a trade. His trade request comes out. I'm like, I got to get you on to see what's going on. You're traveling with the team, what the buzz is about at the hotel with the team. What's going on over there?
Well, I haven't actually been around the team yet today. Yesterday was the travel day. Practice is, and as you and I speak, practice is going to be an hour and a half or so away. So I'll know more once I get around the locker room and see those guys. But yeah, I mean, look, the Kravtsov thing certainly comes as no surprise. And I mean, the fact that the kid had to request it is, I mean, I don't even know why that would be. I would think that he's on that they've been shopping him already. It just has to be at this point. I mean, what is the deal? I mean, if I thought, all right, they sat him out for 4 games and they gave a look to Will Cooley, and they sent Cooley back. They made the trade. He was in the lineup again, Friday night. Okay, let's see where this goes. And it lasted 1 game. So clearly the coach has no use for him, has, no faith in him. And what's left for this poor kid? I see him in the, walking around the locker room, he's sad, I think, I mean, like, what's he doing here? He can't, he's not playing. The coach doesn't like him, doesn't trust him, doesn't want him here, clearly. So why should he continue to be here? I mean, he's miserable right now. They can't send him to the minors because, of course, you have to put him on waivers in order to do that. He's not going to agree to go down for 2 weeks for conditioning. So he's just here and he's not playing. So what is the point? There's no point.
No, and last week, like you said, he gets into the 1 game and Gallant comes out and says, hey, we're going to give him a shot, right? Like, I think he actually said it in the press release. We're going to give him a shot. That was the whole big thing. Right. We're going to give him a shot. He played 8 minutes in the game and the next night he's scratched. And then there's like nothing came out about it after that. Like, what happened? Like, what happened to this kid's shot? And all of a sudden Jake Leschyshyn's back in the lineup. And I personally look at it and I thought at first, okay, maybe they were keeping him out of the lineup because they thought he was going to be traded. So let's not get him hurt. Let's hold on to him. The Tarasenko deal goes down. Okay, let's put him back in because obviously he wasn't needed in that piece.
Right.
Not the case at all. He just went to the lineup for a few minutes and came back. I was like, I don't know what's happening when I was a kid.
I don't know. Now, some of that is, you say that nothing's come out of it. You got to remember most of us did not go to Raleigh. Larry Brooks went on behalf of the Post, and Larry Brooks is, obviously a Hall of Famer and whatever, but I didn't go, and Molly Walker didn't go. Like it was one of those things where the road trip started ostensibly in Raleigh, but we have Western Canada this week, so Molly stayed home, I stayed home, Vince Mercogliano stayed home, and we all just came to Vancouver. So, there was, I guess what I'm going at is that there wasn't as much media Saturday night in Raleigh as there might have been on another night. You know what I mean? So maybe those questions didn't get asked, or maybe Gallant was just dismissive of it, and had really nothing to say, because at this point, what is there to say, right? What is there to say? I mean, actions speak louder than words, and it's very, very clear that the coach doesn't believe in this player anymore, and then this player is not necessarily comfortable here anymore. So I don't know what's left to say, but we'll ask the questions anyway.
He probably looked around the ice and like, all right, they're not here. I'm not going to worry about anything tonight. I'm just going to get bench his ass and move on my life. And if Larry asks me a question, I'm going to say next. That's probably what he said to himself. And talking about Larry. So Larry floated out the Tanner Jeannot possible trade to the Rangers. I think it was last week. And I love that. I think he'd be a great addition. Come playoff time, you always need a little bit more grit. Julien Gauthier played very well at some parts of the season. Some parts of the season, he kind of disappears down the fourth line. But I think he's a home run acquisition, $800K salary. And if there's a guy like Kravtsov sitting out there, that could be enticing to Nashville as a young prospect to bring him back. I don't even know why Jeannot is on the trade block from Nashville, considering the rookie season he had. Obviously,
I'm not sure he is. I think, I that might be a wish list thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, because I read, what Larry's written is saying this guy would be a perfect fit. I don't know that Nashville's looking to get rid of him. So, let's put that. Let's clarify that. I don't know that Larry suggested that he was available to be had. I believe Larry said this guy would be a perfect fit, kind of thing. So anyway, whatever it is, I mean, we're still March 3rd is the deadline, right? So that's a couple weeks away, right? I mean, you got the rest of February and a couple days into March. So there's still some time to, for Chris Drury to be talking to people. There's lots of people that he could talk to, and he's done a good job, Drury, I believe, in keeping a tight lid on stuff, and you don't necessarily know what he's working on or what's out there. And yes, we knew that Tarasenko, it was going to be Tarasenko or Kane. I don't know that there were any other necessarily obvious fits, but we didn't know about Frank Vatrano last year either. So, I mean, Drury's done a good job in finding people that we're not thinking about that fit the role. So I don't, whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. Whether it's Tanner Jeannot or somebody else, he'll find somebody, and he's got time to figure that out.
So let's talk about the trade. Obviously, what a monster trade. And you and I spoke back this, I think it was in December when you came on, how I would prefer him to make a deal earlier than later in the trade deadline season I liked him giving these guys time to get acclimated to the team where it's not just a 15-game sprint. But to bring in Tarasenko, a 6-time 30-goal scorer, 4-time All-Star, just actually came off the All-Star game when he got traded, and to really give up very little assets, and then also get up the 6th, 7th defenseman that he's been wanting to get. But finally, Ranger fans get that right wing, top 6 right wing that we've been asking for since last offseason, when we knew that Vatrano was leaving. So home run move, I think, right?
Yeah, no, you accomplished so much, right? Say what you will, and I know people got frustrated with Sammy Blais. I remember that this is a guy that really looked as though he was on the rise when he got injured. But then he got injured, missed the rest of the year, and it hasn't worked for him at all this year. He never scored a goal as a Ranger. I know he tried. I know he worked hard. I spoke to him. He's a great kid. They like him. But it wasn't working for him. And so clearly, it was probably best to move on from him. And so you move all, that's addition. Almost, I don't want to be mean about it, but it's kind of almost like addition by subtraction, getting him off your roster. And then obviously you have addition by addition, getting, Tarasenko and Mikkola. And so you what do you give up? You give up 2 draft picks, right? The second of the second and lower of your 2 first round picks this year. And if it's top 10 protected, and if St. Louis is, for some, or I'm sorry, if Dallas is for some reason picking in the top 10, I don't think that's going to be the case.
No.
But if they are, then it pushes to next year. So you're never giving up your own first round pick. It's always going to be the worst of 2 first round picks, either this year or next. And you're giving up, conditional 4th rounder, but the condition is if you make the playoffs, it's a 3rd round. So effectively, you're giving up a 3rd rounder. So you're giving up the second of your 2 first rounders and a 3rd rounder, plus you're getting rid of Sammy Blais, and the other prospect in the deal, or the other player in the deal, is not. I don't even know if he's a prospect. He's a defenseman that was playing in the East Coast League. So,
yeah, Hunter Skinner. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how, what did you give up? It doesn't seem like, and you got them to pick up half of Tarasenko's salary. So I don't know. I mean, to me, that's I don't want to say it's a steal, but it's a really good deal.
Yeah, especially this far out, right? Like usually that's a deal you'd see maybe closest to the deadline because someone's getting a little desperate. This is far out. You think they'd shop him around for a little longer, but this seems to be the best deal that St. Louis.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the guy had a no trade clause, a full no trade, so he would have
had a bargaining chip, yeah.
So it may be that he told him, "Listen, I'm going to the Rangers or nowhere," and he's unrestricted at the end of the season, and so St. Louis obviously decided that whatever, this is the best we're going to do. If the guy's only going to go to the Rangers, then how much better are we going to do? And so they did it, and and from their standpoint, they get back 2 high draft picks. They get a 1st and a 3rd. They get back Sammy Blais, who at worst can play on their 4th line, and maybe it doesn't work, but maybe it works. So that's a flyer. But the two picks they get something in exchange for a guy that was going to leave for nothing. Like he said it to us when he came. He's like, I know I'm going to leave, because there's no deal, so I'm not going to go back there. So obviously St. Louis was in a bind, and if they knew that the Rangers was the only place this guy was going to go, then then might as well make the deal now. So it worked out for all parties, and you get an extra 3 weeks to kind of mesh. Now I'm curious to see who's going to play with whom. Now we can get back into the first night it was Tarasenko with Zibanejad and Panarin. And then in the second night, he switched Panarin and Kreider. And so I'm curious to see who's going to end up playing with who and how long he's going to stay with those combinations.
I saw Chris Drury said that he reached out to Panarin before the trade, I guess to get some intel on Tarasenko, whatever. And I'm just wondering if he talked to him before the All-Star game and kind of told him, hey, listen, when you see your buddy down there in Florida, let him know we want him. So he can tell the brass back in St. Louis, hey, listen, I'm only going to New York. So maybe Panarin put a little birdie in his ear down there in Florida at the All-Star game saying, you're coming to New York, buddy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. That's possible. That's very possible. They've been good friends for a long time. And, so yeah, it's all possible. When you have a full no trade, I mean, you have a lot of, you have a lot of control in that situation. So obviously Tarasenko exercised the control, and St. Louis realized that Patrick Kane was out there too. And if we wait, maybe they get Kane and we get stuck with this guy. So St. Louis moved them. So it all worked out for everybody except for Patrick Kane.
Who made it very clear he wanted to go to the Rangers. Very clear that he was very upset.
Very clear.
Very upset at everyone in the New York Rangers organization and his own organization for not making that happen. Kind of his own fault, though, for waiting so long and saying, I'll make my choice before, if the guy would have said December 1st, listen, we knew Chicago was dog crap back in October, let alone now.
Yeah.
The guy could have made a decision a little bit earlier.
When they made those moves they made in the summer, we knew where they were going.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's on him and his agent, I think, for waiting so long. But hey, because Chris Drury made the deal and had the 50% salary retained, he has cap space available. So the pipe dream to some Ranger fans of having Patrick Kane is still somewhat alive in some people's brains, but not until I think this is the same thing with Eichel. Not until that guy is in a different jersey somewhere else will that rumor or that whatever stop between Ranger fans. That dream of 88 back, in a Rangers jersey.
Yeah, listen, realistically, I don't see it happening, but sure, why not? I mean, you can get creative. I mean, I spoke before we started this about, how would you fit him in? But, and you raised a good point. Maybe you get a third team, maybe Chicago holds on to some cap, some of the cap hit, and you get a third team to take some of the other, the rest of it. I don't know. I mean, you can get creative, and Chris Drury has gotten creative. So I mean, I don't worry about that. I suppose it's possible. I just don't see it as necessarily likely.
Now, have you talked to Panarin since the deal's gone down with Tarasenko? He looked like he has had another step the last 2 games.
Well, yeah, we spoke to him at the morning skate Friday. He was, he said he was more happy than anybody about the deal. And then we spoke to him again after the game, and he was pretty psyched up as well. As I said, I didn't go to Raleigh, so I didn't speak to him there. But we'll see today. Maybe we'll I'm going to try and see if Kravtsov will talk. I don't hold out hope that he will. I mean, I wouldn't if I were him, probably. You'd probably don't want to say anything, especially, in your second language, that could be misconstrued or could work against you. So it's probably, if he's smart, he probably won't want to talk, but I'll ask. We'll see if he's interested and willing. And but other than that, wish Capo Caco a happy birthday. And then just kind of see what the lines look like today in practice. I'm really, really curious to see where is Panarin, where is Kreider, where is Tarasenko, where are VC and Goudreau.
How old was Kako now? Is he 22 now?
Kako's 22 today.
22, right? Yeah, okay. He hit the 21 mark. That's what I thought. He hit 21 last year, yeah.
Oh,
it's crazy. It's crazy how young those kids are. It's
no, they're young, but they've been around a long time. Like
Hedo's been here for a decade. I feel like, and he's only 24 years old.
23, but he's been here since what? He made the team.
The third longest tenured Ranger
in 2017. So I'm like, he's been around a long time. And then Kako came here at 18, and he's been here the whole time. So yes, he's in his 4th season, but he is still only 22.
Tarasenko, what have you spoken with him yet about his excitement for being in New York? Or obviously, I mean, what a fairy tale first game for him, getting to scoring on a second shift. The Garden, I mean, the roof almost blew off the place.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. Like, no, we did speak to him on Friday, at the morning skate, and again, of course, after the game. And he's really excited. He was really excited. He was willing to say, he's as I told you, he said that he knew he wasn't going to go back to St. Louis. So he knew he was going to be traded. Yeah. And he knew he had the no trade. So he had some control over it. And, he obviously wanted to come here. So, we have spoken to him. I think he's been so excited. It's been such a whirlwind for the last couple of days. I mean, I think, a lot of it's just kind of stream of consciousness sort of thing, I don't know that he's had a chance to really sit down and process and say, okay, exactly, how does this all going to work and all this kind of stuff. But again, we have plenty of time. We got the extra 3 weeks, right? So, I'm sure we'll talk to him more as we go along here.
And Mikkola has kind of gotten washed up in this whole thing as not an afterthought, but, kind of doesn't come front of mind for everything. But great pickup, I think, from him, too, adding him to the deal. Ben Harper's played well. When you don't notice your 6th defenseman, that's a good game for your 6th defenseman. I think he's been fine in that role. I think he's been much better than I thought he would be in that role. Was a big upgrade from what Vladimir Tarasenko was performing at early this year. So I guess, is there any talk about is he now the 6th defenseman? Is Harper now the 7th guy, or has Harper's there been any talk? Yeah. That's what's been talk. Okay.
Harper's the 7th. I mean, to be fair, Harper's last 2 games were not strong. All right. Yeah. I think, the team as currently constructed and as envisioned by Gerard Gallant, as we know, we started the season, you had Zach Jones and Hayek, and they were sort of, I do want to say battling it out, I guess, for that 6th spot. I think it was Jones got the first crack. They knew they were going to give Hayek, some time as well. They went back and forth. One of them obviously did not win the job outright. Ultimately, I guess they made the decision that if Jones wasn't going to be in there on a nightly basis, it's better for him to go back down and play first pair ice time down there and run a power, because he's a power play guy, really. I mean, that's the thing. And if he's not doing that here, then he didn't really fit the role of the third pair lefty, because he's just too small. He can't clear the front of the net, and those things that you need, that you needed a bigger guy for that spot. So I felt like he was a bad fit for a third pair lefty, unless you have a giant, right-handed guy, stay-at-home guy that he can play with, and then he can just, he can be the guy that goes forward and have the other guy stay back. But partnering with Braden Schneider, who is more of a two-way guy, and you don't want to like turn him into that stay-at-home guy. You want him to develop as a guy who can go forward. Also, I think it was not a great partnership for Zach Jones, and so I didn't think Zach Jones was a fit as the third pair lefty. So, then they sent Jones down, they put Hayek in there, and obviously they decided to give Harper a look, and Harper was so much bigger and was really a better fit, really, than any of them. And then they've upgraded now from Harper. Now they've gone out and they've gotten Mikkola, who is is Harper but slightly better, an upgrade. And I think I like the defense. I like what it looks like for now. And we'll see if they do anything else. I mean, you still have Jones down on the farm. You still have Matthew Robertson down on the farm. So you still have some depth there, I think. So I think they're in decent shape defensively. If you look at, you look at who's playing goal for you. I mean, you got Igor, or you have the other guy who's won 7 in a row. So I mean, I think they're in good shape defensively. Now, as you say, you can tinker with, and to me, I think it's a luxury when you're saying, well, we'd like to beef up our fourth line. If that's the only problem you got, you're in
that's good. No, that's what I'm saying. I think the Rangers are set up well right now. I think, but they need a little beef. They need a little toughness up front. I don't know. I think they need one other guy. You lost Reeves. Reeves was, as much as people, Ranger fans can say that he was slowing down. Last year in the playoffs, he made some impact there on some of the bigger guys. You play against Tampa, you're gonna see a Patty Maroon, you're gonna see a couple of guys like that. So they're gonna need someone else maybe in that lineup that can kind of help with that role, because Barclay Goodrow also kills penalties. He can't be going out there, and he can move up and down the lineup instead of the fourth line too. You've seen Gallant likes using him in the top six sometimes in late game situations and stuff. So you can't have him be running into guys and getting hurt out there by fighting big guys.
Yeah, so I mean you make an excellent point there. Is if you're looking ahead to the playoffs, the playoff game, or the game in the playoffs is different than the game in the regular season. And so, yeah, a guy like Ryan Reeves, and it's a really good point. A guy like Ryan Reeves may not have been a great fit in the regular season when you're trying to play with more speed and you're trying to do different things. But in the playoffs, when you're playing the same team, every other night, and you're going, 7 games in 13 nights or whatever, you build up that in series rivalry and stuff. And yeah, a grittier, bigger, tougher guy does become, more of a need than in the regular season. I mean, I've said it many times and over again with the Islanders. The Islanders, with that fourth line that they had, that Cizikas, Martin line, they were a great playoff team. Their problem was they weren't a great regular season team, so they had to get to the playoffs. And so ultimately, what you want to do is you want to get to the playoffs. You got to get a team that's good for the regular season, and then at the trade deadline, maybe you can go out and get these elements and stuff that you're going to need for the postseason. And so, they could, the Rangers, they have a little bit of cap room, and they have time here, and they can go get a guy that can add a little bit more grit and a little bit more toughness, as you say, for that fourth line to go against those Patty Maroons and those types of guys.
So on Mikkola, I mean, 2 opposite first games, by the way, between him and Tarasenko. Tarasenko goes out there, scores a goal. He goes out, Mikkola's a -1 with 6 penalty minutes and 3 bad calls, too. I mean, the guy couldn't get any luck in his first game. Yeah. He was +2 in Carolina. Much better game from him down there. But I was like, man, what a rough. Everyone's, Tarasenko. Yeah, everyone's loving Tarasenko. I'm like, this poor kid out there can't get anything going.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's funny. It's interesting. Now, I got a question for you. How do you think of that? What do you think of that plus minus that? Because we're having debate among us reporters as to how valuable that stat is. And I know a lot of people today don't care much about it. I still like to pay attention to it because I still think if you're on for goals for and not goals against, or more goals for than goals against, I think that's valuable. But what do you think?
So I do pay attention to it, but like last game or was it against Seattle? Keandre came off the ice, and as it was a bad change. I don't know if you remember the play. It was a bad change, and Schneider jumped on the ice, and he didn't even hit the. I think once he hit the ice, and they scored a goal, minus for him. You know what I mean? So you look at the box score.
It happened that way.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's rough. But I think if you see a guy like -1, +1, I think not a huge deal. You see a -3 or a -4 next to someone's name. I think that's when you start paying attention. Like, what the hell was that guy? Like, what was he doing last night? Like, Trouba ran up a couple -2s, -3s early in the air. You know, like that's kind of when I think that the whole narrative on him started to change a little bit, like what's going on with him. But it's funny. I had Matthew Barnaby on my show, and he was talking about plus minus and stuff, and he's like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, players don't look at it. And then I'm like, oh, you're a plus player in your career. It's like, oh, it's the greatest stat of all time. You know, but, you know, he's. But you know, he said like guys don't really look at that, you know, when they look at their game and everything, you know, they're more into you know, like with the Corsi, like that kind of stuff, like you know, their offensive time or you know, the biggest thing like he was talking about, like for his position, like what he played, like, you know, how many obviously his penalty minutes, like what was he at, but where is he at compared to other guys in the league? You know, is he staying up with the big guys in the league? But that's what he would pay attention to. But I don't know. I don't really look at like if I look at the box score the next day, like I look at, you know, okay, what, you know, I usually look at time, like ice time. That's what I like to pay attention to. So like when I look like, I think like I looked at McCall, I was like, how long did he play last night? It was 17 minutes. I'm like, all right. So there was trust there, even though he was a minus and he hit to call penalties. At least there was trust there. It wasn't some of Harper's games. He's playing 13, 14 minutes. You know, they protect him a little bit. So it was good to see he got a little more ice time out there, but I don't know who doesn't like it. Who doesn't like the plus minus though?
Oh, some of the you know, younger people, analytic type people, or
so Vince.
No. Well, you know, I'm not going to mention any names.
So younger people, so Vince.
No, you know, Arthur Staples, you know, is more into the analytics too. And yeah, you know, listen, the debate on plus minus goes way back to before there was analytics. You know what I mean? Like covering this game a long time, and there was always a debate with plus minus. But you know what I look at is it depends on the type of player it is, depends on the team. You know, obviously if you're a good player on a bad team, you're gonna be minus because you're gonna get a lot of ice time. But I'm with you. I like that. You know, the ice time tells you more.
I think it tells me who has to trust the coach.
Yeah.
You know, like the other night, Jimmy Vesey was moved down to the fourth line. And its ice time dropped. And then in the next game, he earned the trust back, and all of a sudden he's back up to 16 minutes for the night. And it's like, all right, well, Vesey earned the trust back last, you know, whatever it was. That's what, you know, one of the big changes in Carolina. But you do the same thing for goalies. Like, do you look at save percentage? You look at goals allowed. You know, are they hand in hand, or is your team just crappier and you have more goals, but you have a 900 save percentage? You know, you better goalie.
I've always goalie stats are weird because they're so dependent on the rest of the team. Like, you know, I've always liked the save percentage stat most.
That's what I look at first. What's your save? Yeah.
I mean, like, how many saves do you make relative to the shots that you see? But you know, the other thing to realize is that, you know, it's what kind of shots are you seeing? Like, if they're all 50 footers, you know, with no screen, you should save it. But, you know, if they're all shots from the slot, you know, you're not going to save it. So, I mean, so again, it comes back to, you know, it's a team game, and you know, if you're a good team, everybody's going to have better stats, and if you're a bad team, then, you know, maybe not. But, you know, goals is goals, I suppose. If you're a goal scorer, you're going to get your goals. That's probably the only thing you're going to get goals. You know, but the rest of it is all, you know, it's all dependent on what kind of team you got.
Talk about goalies. Halak, obviously on fire, 7 wins in a row now. He's a guy who went from, I think every Ranger fan was like, what the hell? What happened to this guy? He used to kill us early in the year. What was he? He was starting off the year like 1-6 or 1-5, whatever it was.
He was 5-1, I believe.
Yeah. And now he's turning around. He got a new mask. This is some inside information for you. You can write about this next article. He got a new mask from Dave Art, the guy who does Henrik Lundqvist masks, that he does the ROs. I saw on Dave Art's Instagram that he sent the mask out on December 3rd. Okay. He received the mask December 3rd. Since he's wearing the new mask, undefeated. Just saying, the man he needed some new artwork, and he's undefeated since then.
Wow. All right. That's good intel. Yeah, I like that. I'll see if I get a chance to ask Yaro about that.
Ask him about that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, all kidding aside, like, that's been a big part of this turnaround because now, it gives them the freedom to play Yaro against Carolina. You know what I mean? Like, I remember there was a trip where there was a back-to-back where he played Shesterkin at both ends of the back-to-back because, Yaro was not
in Arizona. Yeah, he played I was like, why is he playing against Arizona? And he needed one of them
was, I think it was a day game in Dallas the day before, and then a night game in Arizona the next night or something like that. And he played him I think it was a 5:00 game or something. Anyway, so it was so that was, you've gone from being in that place where you felt the need to play Igor on both ends of the back-to-back, and now you're playing Igor against Seattle on a Friday night and then playing Yaro the next night in Carolina against the division leaders, right? So, I mean, they have the confidence now, and they have trust in Yaro now, and that makes a world of difference for the team.
No, I think, yeah. I mean, this is the guy we all thought we were going to see. I mean, he's crushed the Rangers in the past. I mean, with the Islanders, he was electric against the Rangers. And I'm like, when he's caught off slow, I was like, oh man, maybe he's just older now. Yeah, he's 37. He's lost a step, but now he's been great. Like you said, they close and open up the All-Star break with him too. So,
right.
And then you look at the Rangers. I mean, with 3 points back, the Devils come into tonight. They're 6 points back at Carolina. Those numbers were tens, and I think Carolina was up at 14 points in them. So the Rangers have been just absolutely on fire, and it's the turnaround. I mean, people get on Gallant for his line changes and everything else, but I think I saw yesterday he has the highest winning percentage of any New York Rangers coach right now.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think I looked. I think that's what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the guy gets I don't want to say gets a bad rap, but people, I think, are impatient, right? So they can't. And the line changes is something we can all keep track of, and it's something we all keep track of. And I have this argument with people all the time. Oh, he changes the lines too much. Well, if he doesn't like it, what is he supposed to do?
It's not working. I guess you got to change it. Yeah.
He said it once before, like, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to sit there and do nothing? You're a coach. You got to try and do stuff. And I keep coming back to that definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I mean, if something is not working and you're the coach, you got to try stuff. So I think changing the lines in, midway through the game in Carolina, when you're playing the second night of a back-to-back against a real good team, to say, oh, it's stale, I didn't like it, so I changed it. Maybe that's where people think that he's a little trigger happy. But, I think, first of all, it worked. Right?
I'd say it didn't work. It didn't work.
The guy scored 4 goals and you win the game. But second of all, I think, I think he has in his mind, and he has told us this as much, he has in his mind what he thinks the lines should be. And what he thinks the lines should be are Mika with Kreider and Panarin with Trocheck and the kids together, right? So those are the 3 basic sort of backbone principles that he has and what he believes the lines should look like. And sometimes it's not working, and he splits them up. He splits up Mika and Kreider. He didn't like Panarin and Trocheck. That didn't seem to be working, so he split them up. But ultimately, I think he wants to keep coming back to that, right? And as much as I think Kakko should have played on the first line because he's the best right wing on the team, he always likes Kakko with those other 2 kids because it's better for the other 2 kids. So I think ultimately, yes, we started out Friday night and you have Panarin and Zibanejad and Tarasenko, and Panarin and Tarasenko are buddies and they score a goal 2 minutes into the game. And so you think that's working, but ultimately in the back of Gallant's mind, he's still thinking Mika and Kreider, right? And at some point, I'm going to get back to Mika and Kreider, and he did that on Saturday, and it seems to work. So now we'll see. As I said, I go to practice in a little while here, and I'm curious what the lines are going to look like. I expect they're going to look exactly the way they finished in Carolina. By the way,
I think so too, yeah.
But we'll see. But again, I have less of a problem with him changing lines as much as he does than other people do. I mean, other people seem to think that this makes him just, a terrible coach, and I think he's just trying to get something done.
When
And
you and I have talked about this.
I don't want to be an apologist for him, but I just think like everybody's giving the guy a hard time for no reason. Like, and
I know.
and it's out 24-3. So what are we doing here?
Well, yeah. So when the trade went down, everyone's like, "Oh my god, they got Panarin and Zibanejad and Tarasenko. It's gonna be one of the top scoring lines in hockey." Everyone, all these analysts were like, "Oh, this is gonna be one of the best lines in hockey." In the back of my mind, I'm like, "This line's gonna last for 35 seconds.
Right.
They're gonna turn a puck over, and it's gonna be
right.
a change up." And you and I have talked about before that you're like, "Oh, they want Kreider and Zibanejad together." And when he switched lines in after the game, one game together, everyone's kumbaya. Big win at the Garden, and Tarasenko gets the big goal, and Panarin's smiling ear to ear in the locker room afterwards. And then in the second period of the next game, they change him up and they go back to Kreider and Zibanejad. I almost texted you, like, here it goes. I knew it was coming. You knew it was coming.
We all knew.
There, and hey, it worked. Panarin goes there and scores 4 goals and takes the game over, and it worked. But I just thought it was so funny. Like, all these Ranger fans, like, what is he doing? He just got Tarasenko, and they're putting Kreider back on the top. Like, Kreider, by the way,
21 goals, by the way, and 52 last year. That's not bad.
Yeah. Right? Kreider, by the way, he's not having a bad year. It's a very quiet 21 goals, though. Can you agree with me on that?
I don't know. I mean, I still think of him scoring the winner in Philly in a 1-0 game in overtime. He's had some big goals. I think
it's not I guess it's not the power play goals. He's kind of overshadowed now by Mika on the power play, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, but he had 25 power play goals last year, and
he's got 4 this year. 25-4. Yeah, it's big.
Right. Yeah, but we knew that 52 was off the charts for him, right? I mean, we were all hoping he was going to get 30 one year. And because all those years you would get 28, and you'd have 20 after 40 games, and we'd be like, oh, he's going to get 30 this year, and then he doesn't. And so to go from a guy whose career high in goals was 28, and last year he gets 52, we all knew he was going to come back to the pack. So now he's got 21 with 29 games left to go.
I'm not hating on him. I'm a Kreider supporter.
Goals, if he gets 31, 33 goals, I mean, that's
great. That's great. I'm just saying, I'm a huge Kreider supporter. When everyone hated on him 2 years ago and wanted him traded, I have a Kreider jersey somewhere in the back. I've always supported him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this year, when you look at his numbers at 21, it's like, wow, that's more than I thought he would have, just based off of what, like you said, like maybe not the biggest goals of the year he scored. I mean, he scored 1 overtime goal and whatever else, but I think of him as the power play, the best. Last year, the whole thing was, best net front presence in hockey. Still doing it. Right. He's just not the one banging the puck in the net this year. And he's had bad puck luck too. He's had so many. He's had a couple posts. He's got a lot of. I think what's his name has the worst. Trocheck has what? That stat always comes up on MSG. The 13 posts or whatever is most in the NHL. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, but Kreider, for whatever reason, is just a little snake bitten this year. But yeah, no, the guy's got 30-something goals. You can't complain about it. It's just when you're looking at the stats, it's like it seems like Zibanejad has 50 goals compared to what what I mean, like, because the goals he scored have been very big.
But so the last couple goals that Mika has scored on the power play, have come through Kreider.
Right? Oh, the no look pass he does that he just knows he's there is beautiful.
So I mean, that is one of their staples that they work on. They've got a couple of set plays that they do. They're creative and stuff, and they'll find ways. But I mean, that's one of the things that they like to do. You see them working on it in practice and stuff. So, no, I think look, we can't complain about where they are. They're 24-3 in the last 27 games. So, I think they're in a good place, as you said earlier. We've got everything in place except we like to tweak the fourth line a little bit. That's a good place to be. You got 2 good goalies. You got, he's not having the same year he had last year, but he's still probably on, pound for pound, the best goalie in the league in Igor. Mm-hmm. You got a 37-year-old guy that's won 7 in a row. So, so you're solid in the goal, which is where, I mean, you and I talk before all the time. I always say you got to be solid in the goal, right? So you are. And you're solid in your top 4 defense, and now you just got a reinforcement for that third pair, and that third pair looks like it's solidified a little bit too. So they're in a good place. They're in a really, really good place, and we'll see what they do on this road trip. The schedule's been friendly to them too lately, other than playing Carolina on the second night of a back-to-back. They've had some pretty winnable games, and the thing that they they did that I didn't necessarily like is they jump out to these leads and they let teams back in it.
Yeah.
They turn the puck over, and they let, that happened against Calgary, and it happened against Seattle to some degree, and Vancouver. And we'll see. But you come on the road for this particular trip. Now you start the trip with a win in Carolina, which was huge, and that's a come from behind win. And then you have Vancouver, which is kind of out of it, and Calgary, which is still would like to think of itself as in it, but we know that the Rangers should be better than them. And then we'll see what happens with Edmonton, and so, but I mean, it's 3 games, and I don't want to say they're all 3 winnable games, but you're not playing Boston 3 times, you know what I mean? So it's an opportunity here. There's no reason for what they've been doing to stop right now.
I was at the game last Monday night against Calgary, and I mean, that was maybe the loudest I've heard MSG for a regular season game. I can't think of a game. I mean, that game had everything you could ever want between the fights, the goals, the comebacks. I mean, a lot of writers and a lot of people were saying it was the game of the year so far this year for the NHL, and it was right out of the All-Star breaks. So there was a lot of hype, not hype, but a lot of attention around the NHL from the weekend. But I
don't like games like that. For what I have to do, I want boring games, man. I want 5-1 games. I can write my story early, and don't worry about it. Stupid games that come down to the end and they go into overtime and stuff. That's a nightmare.
You sit at MSG until 11:30, still typing away. You should just write like Lafreniere scored, game over. Trouba fought a bunch of guys. Trouba fought a bunch of guys. A really stupid kicking call went in.
Yeah, how about that? How about that? The guy kicks the puck into the net, and they rule that he didn't kick the puck into the net. Like, I don't know, man. There was just too much happening in that game. I just couldn't focus. There was a lot of stuff happening. But
that was unreal. That was unreal. You know what? I got my the first time I went to the Delta 360 Lounge. That's the first time I had access to that. I had a client take me. It wasn't on my dime, to believe me. I had a client take me to the game. Got down there. Have you been down there yet? Have you snuck down there?
Oh, come on.
Oh, you and Vince gotta get down there. The food's good down there. I mean, they load you up. They load you up. I mean, they got everything. Everything on that first level is down there, just sitting down there for free. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah, so you gotta sneak down. There's an elevator. I don't know where it goes to, but there's an elevator that goes up. You guys gotta find that elevator and get down there. Flash that badge around.
Flash that badge. Yeah, no, it only works in specific spots.
So I'm doing an interview down here. I'm sorry. You know who? So I'm in the bathroom. Bill Daly's next to me in the bathroom.
What?
Yeah.
Nice.
I was like, all right, I wanted to ask him, hey, that kicking call, what's going on there?
Yeah, what's funny about that too? Like, the ref came out, and the ref was like, the situation room in Toronto said that was not kicked in. Like,
as soon as he said, according to the situation room, I'm like, oh, they're gonna reverse it. He took complete blame off himself right away. He basically was like, this is not my call. This is Toronto's call. And the ref sucks chance still gonna come out, but he tried to take as much blame off himself in that moment as possible.
Not me, man. I had nothing to do with it.
He could have been like, I don't agree with this call, but Toronto is saying that it's a good goal. But I think maybe Trouba might need a couple more eyes in the back of his head next game. So I think Lucic might be coming for him on Thursday night.
Yeah, that's fine. Listen, and Trouba doesn't. He's a tough guy, man. He's
tough.
Minded at all. I mean, I was joking with him the next day of practice. I said, I thought you would have a maintenance day, rest your knuckles or whatever. And he kind of laughed, because he had 2 fights in that game, and he laughed. And but he said he doesn't mind it, and he was ready for it. He hits a guy, he blows a guy up, and he knows, he's got to look, he's got a head on a swivel. Somebody's coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
And he doesn't mind it at all. So we'll see. I mean, I know when Reeves was here, I used to talk to him about fighters in the league and stuff. And Lucic was the first name that he always brought up is because hey, who are the good fighters? That's the first name would always come up. So yeah, if Lucic is out there, and the Rangers don't really have a guy that can match up with him, but Trouba doesn't mind. He's big enough; he can handle himself.
Yeah, no, I think it was Mike Rupp was saying on NHL Network. He's like, the embarrassing part of it for Calgary is not only did he lay the 2 big hits and knock kill the guys, he then beat both guys up, and the Rangers score on the 1 power play,
Yeah, yeah.
And then I think, did they score in the second? No, they didn't score the second.
No. They got the one on the.
Yeah, it's just the one. Yeah, but he's like, that's the embarrassing part of it is you get your ass kicked, you get hit, you get your ass kicked, and then they score a goal on you. He's like, that's the ultimate embarrassment.
Yeah. That's I mean that was all part of that. We'll see if we can match that on a 9:00 start or whatever it is. Right?
And then also I need you when you get all the writers together today, when you're out practice, you gotta get them all together. We gotta start getting the Adam Fox Norris articles out there now. We gotta get some more attention to this guy because all the media is going towards Carlson and Fox. You look at his numbers.
Yes, that's fair. I don't know how much Fox needs us pleading this case for him.
I don't know. There's not a lot of attention to him right now than that. For whatever reason, he kind of is almost underrated in the national media. You listen to everyone else talk about these other defensemen. He's not talked about that level still.
He's the issue that with him is when Patrick what's the guy who was here last year? It come from Colorado.
Nemeth?
Nemeth, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had asked Nemeth at the beginning, last season, to compare Fox and Cale Makar, and essentially what he said is Makar is so electric, it's just a different thing, whereas Fox is more kind of cerebral and I think that's fair. I think Fox is just so cerebral. He doesn't he doesn't get people jumping out of their seats the way a guy like Makar does, and you can't overlook what Carlson's doing in San Jose because those numbers are sick.
They're crazy, yeah. But he's also on -3 every night.
Right, but yeah, but he's playing for a bad team, and he has to do that stuff. And I don't know how much of a difference it's making. Whereas our guy, is obviously, making a difference on a team that's good. So yeah. I mean, like he'll get his share of acclaim, I think. But yeah, I think people, and then there's the anti-New York bias too. So there's probably some of that going around too. But no, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I mean, it's going to come down to Carlson, and are his numbers just so overwhelming that you have to reward them.
I mean, I think he could be the 7th defenseman of all time to have 100 points. I mean, it's not a feat that's done very often.
It's not, so I mean, I'm just, I'm not trying to downplay what Fox has done for the Rangers, and what he's, but it's nothing to sniff at. If a guy gets 100 points playing defense, that's a lot.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
That's a lot of points, so let's see, like maybe he gets 95 or something, and then, Fox can, get 2 points or something like that.
Because he's going to be a point per game player this year too. Fox will have a close to 80 points too, which for defensemen is unbelievable. But
in a game, that's pretty good too.
It was very cool to see him out there in the All-Star game with Crosby and Ovechkin, him being that third guy there. So I don't know if anyone asked him about his experience in there with those two. That's pretty cool to see 2 legends out there with Fox.
I actually haven't spoken to Fox since that. Can you believe it? He's it's just one of those, just so many other things going on that but the other thing that I found interesting was that on that Metropolitan Division roster, he was literally the only defenseman on the roster.
Yeah. The whole All-Star game had 5 defensemen. The All-Star game has changed so much now. It's about goals now. I think the Atlantic
game Adam Pelech was in the All-Star game last year.
I don't know what to tell. The Atlantic team didn't even have a defenseman this year. They had Mitch Marner, who played a shift of defense in the preseason for Toronto, playing defense for them.
Come on, see, that's what I'm saying. So I don't take the All-Star game seriously. It's I get it. TV wants something, and it's an opportunity for these guys to get together and network and so on and so forth. And I guess that's all cool, but for me, the All-Star game is just not something I pay too much attention to.
The one guy who, Fox obviously is unbelievable, but Keandre Miller in a All-Star game would be electric.
Yeah. He
would be the guy I want to see there.
Well, again, the All-Star games are tricky, especially with defensemen, as we just discussed, but yeah, he's having a nice year for himself, and he's going to get paid.
Him and Hedl have now Keandre started off slow, and you and I talked about in the preseason that he was my guy. I picked him. He's a breakout year after his playoffs, and he starts slow. Like what, and then what's going on? That he has got. I mean, his obviously 24-3, like you said, he's been driving that. I mean, he's been unbelievable in the back end, and Hedl has been incredible since he's come back from that little injury. Well, actually, you came on the night that he got hurt, and you're like, oh, I don't know if hopefully he's healthy. He came back from that injury, and he's been on fire since then. But those two need to get paid, and right now, it's great that they're doing so well. But it's kind of like, hey guys, like, slow down a little bit, maybe. We got it's a lot of there's a cap issue here. There's a cap issue here. Listen, you gotta slow down a little bit here, boys.
That's why Drury gets the big bucks. He'll figure something out.
Maybe take a little tiny step back and go for the playoffs. Really lay it down. But he's gonna have close to 25, maybe 30 goals this year if you keep going like this.
Yeah, I mean, and getting who knows what the designations of second line, third line, first line. I mean, like the kid line, for lack of a better nickname, and I know some people out there have these other suggestions, boys to man and what have you.
Yeah.
But whatever they are, kid line is what we call them in the beginning, and absent something that really makes sense, I'm going to go with that. I mean, they're designated as the third line, but whether they're the third line or not, they're the best line right now. So
they are. They're playing at that same level they did in the playoffs last year. Right
all of them, and now what it's done for Lafreniere is really really a good thing, because this kid was having a tough year, and now all of a sudden it's not so bad.
Lafreniere, have you talked to him at all? Is he like, he seems like he's got a really good attitude though. Even when he was struggling, he's smiling on the bench and everything. Have you talked to him a lot?
No, I wouldn't say a lot. I talked to him early this last week, just kind of like, because he's very careful when he talks to the media, right? Like he's grown up, I think, with this celebrity of being who he is, and he's being, a superstar French kid in a French market and all this kind of stuff. And so I think he's very careful with the media and how he handles us. And so a lot of times he's not the greatest interview. And so, but I reached out to him, I went up to him one day early in the week. And, just one-on-one, I want to get him away from the crowd of cameras and stuff like that. And, he's pretty cool. Like, listen, it's been a tough year for you. It's been up and down, but you really seem to be playing well. And I think he's, his confidence is really high now, whereas it wasn't, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so that's why I say the kid line right now, as it's going, is great for all of them. It's great for the team, but it's really, really great for him because of what it's done for him. And, ultimately he's up for a new contract too. And then, he's got 10 goals now or whatever it is. And, if he gets to 15 or 16 goals before the end of the season, he might get, he's not going to get mega money. He's not going to get, Jack Hughes money, but, he's going to make some money too. And that's going to put a little squeeze on their cap situation for next year as well.
He's probably the only guy who maybe had a little of a frown to the trade, because I know him and Sammy Blais were very tight, the two French guys. So I know that they were a little bit one of the bromances on the team.
Maybe. I mean, it was and in the visiting locker rooms, all the three French guys would all sit next to each other. That's just kind of how it rolled. But now there's all these Russian guys, So now,
it's a Russian invasion locker room now. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. Even in the practice locker room at home, they moved Kravtsov over to the same side of the room now with Panarin and Tarasenko that morning. So we'll see how long he's there. But for now, he's on that same side. With
that's Tarasenko. Good for him though. Hey, that's good. I mean, I know he's gone. I mean, he asked for a trade 3 times, and they're not gonna play you. Obviously, your tenure's not long there, but I thought going to the season having a Panarin there would be great for him, having another fellow countryman there, but. Who knows? Maybe those guys can help him out if he does get traded, help him right his brain a little bit and set him on his way a little bit happier.
I think that, to me, the biggest thing for Kravtsov would be to gain a little weight. He's just really skinny. not skinny, but he's just really slight. You know, he bumped off the puck really easily. And I think if you were to add 10 pounds of muscle, I think that would help a great deal.
Kind of like the Kako from his rookie year when he kind of got a little bigger in the second. Now he's jacked now, but
he did get big from the first year to the second year. That's true. He did add a lot of weight and stuff, and it's looked good on him.
Yeah, he's got to be happy. He gets another fin now in the locker room too.
Yeah. Oh, he was tickled pink about it. He goes, 4 years I've been waiting for this.
They haven't had a fin there since he's been there, right? That's been the long running joke, right?
We asked him if he played 4 games with Tarmo Rajunen.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And that was something that I never could understand why they didn't just go get a guy back in 2019.
Just someone to go in.
Some guy.
They got Niels Lundqvist, Nemeth. And that didn't work out too well, but
they got Nemeth for Lundqvist, and Mika was already on the team. So I don't know why you wouldn't go get a guy for Kako. And they didn't. I mean, I guess you can't force it. If there's a guy that fits and makes sense, you do it. And if there's not, then I guess you don't force it. But whatever reason, they never got a guy. And now they got a guy. And I'm like, it's 4 years later. Kako's grown up now. He's 22 now. Like,
he doesn't need it anymore.
When he was 18, that might have helped. He could have lived with the guy or whatever. And
instead he lived with Brendan Smith and he had to learn Rosetta Stone. Brendan Smith learned Rosetta Stone Finland.
Well, it's when he first came, we were saying, is there anybody in the locker room that speaks his language? And Alexander Georgiev did.
Okay.
Georgiev lives in Finland. He went to Finland to play junior hockey because Finland was putting out good goalies at the time, and he wanted to work with some of their goalie coaches. So he went there, played there, and makes his off-season home in Finland. He lives in Finland now. His girlfriend is Finnish and all that kind of stuff. So he does speak Finnish. And I remember talking to Georgiev, and I said, do you get to speak Finnish to this guy? He goes, you don't want me to talk to him in English? I'm like, well, all right, yeah. You want him to. So, but yeah, no. So 4 years later, they finally get a guy. But he's pretty well grown. He's still a kid, but he's been here a long time now. He's got to figure it out. So I don't think it's as big of a deal as it might have been a few years ago.
Yeah, 22 years old today. That's I remember the draft day getting him, and I remember everyone's like, oh, he's more of an NHL prospect than Hughes, and man, Hughes has taken off. He's something else in New Jersey.
Yeah, and I think, well, I don't know if Kako's ever gonna be what Hughes is.
Yeah, no, totally different players. They're different style players.
But I think Kako's gonna be a good player in the league. I mean, he's, as you said, he's got 11 goals now with how many they play. I mean, if he gets 15 or 16 goals and I don't know, 35 points, approaching 40 points, at 20.
He's shooting now more. He's shooting more now than he was earlier in the year too.
Well, and he needs to, right? I mean, like, people have been pressing him to shoot. I mean, apparently he has a really good shot. I don't know. I haven't seen much of it.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. So during the offseason, for anyone who didn't watch the video, he had a 109-mile-an-hour slap shot clocked in Finland at some hockey camp. And that went viral. I'm like, this guy's never taken a slap shot in his life for the Rangers. What is happening now? And he took one the other night, and I'm like, this is the first time I've ever seen him actually shoot a one-time slap shot. Yeah. And I'm like, where's this been? And then he missed the net by 30 feet, but it was a hard shot. And I'm like, where has this been? Like, this guy needs to doing this.
He's one of the first 3 that goes in the shootout when they have shootouts. You notice that too. So, yeah. I mean, obviously he's got those skills as well, and they believe in those skills and stuff. So I think he's gonna be fine. He's just on a different trajectory than because if you look at their first 2 years, Hughes and Kako, they're more or less very, very similar the first 2 years. Hughes really kind of took off last year and third year. But Kako got hurt, so that kind of set him back a little bit. And then Hughes just, took off and is keeping going. But I think Kako at the end, it's kind of slow and steady wins the race kind of thing. I mean, he's kind of, he's going to be fine.
Are you going to learn Russian?
Me? No.
Yeah, you might have to.
No, Tarasenko's not going to be here. He's a rental. He's going to be leaving and, You
don't know that. Who knows? Maybe he takes a team-friendly deal. Wants to stick with his buddy.
I don't know about that.
His wife said she loves New York already.
Who wouldn't love New York? It's New
She's
York.
listen. I'm already following her on Instagram. She's posting pictures all over the city. They're loving it. The Tarasenko family's loving it. They're
Yeah.
full blown New Yorkers already. 6 days in or 5 days in, whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know about that. No, but it could be fun. Let's hope that he enjoys it, and they have a nice little run here. I mean, they've got still 30 games or whatever, and let's see how it plays out. But I like their chances if they can stay healthy.
I did hear you say it was going to be a third round pick, so that was you guaranteeing the playoff spot with the Rangers. So I appreciated that on the conditional draft pick.
Yeah, if we looked at the standings lately, I mean, they'd have to fall pretty hard to fall out of the playoffs.
All right, find some wood in that hotel room of yours and knock on some wood after saying that statement. They can go out there and get blasted by Vancouver tomorrow night, and something will, The only thing I hope for this trip, take care of Vancouver, whatever with Calgary. Just don't get embarrassed by McDavid again. I don't want to see any more highlights of him going through 5 Rangers on the ice and then undressing Georgiev. And how many times I've seen that stupid highlight last year? Oh,
yeah. I watched it live. It was interesting.
Yeah. I watched it live, not in person, but I watched it live on TV. And was like, oh, as soon as they scored it, I said, oh, I'm going to see that for a long time from now. I think Sam's like, that's going to be at the Hall of Fame, his Hall of Fame induction. They'll be playing that highlight. And I was like, oh, that's so bad. I think it might have been Nemeth. He spun around on the ice.
Well, Trouba was out there. I know.
Trouba, yeah. I forget who it was, but
I don't know who the other. I mean, I presume it would have been Keandre, but
I hope not. I hope not for Keandre's sake.
Trouba was definitely out there for sure, and I don't know. Was it a 4-on-4 situation? I think it was.
There was a lot of it could have been a 6-on-4. Goodrow was out there. No, that could have been a 5-on. Was it a 5? No. Was it a power play? I don't think it was. I think it was even.
No, I don't think so. No, it wasn't a power play. No.
Yeah, it was. That was rough. That was he took it from the neutral zone and just danced on him, and his speed's incredible.
He's good. He's a good player.
Yeah, he's solid. He's maybe the Rangers pick him up. Maybe that's a good acquisition.
Yeah. Let's do that. Do that.
Oh, I tweeted that last year after the playoffs. I was like, this guy's got to get out of Edmonton. They're not going to build around. I was like, he's got to get out. Jokingly, like he's got to get out of there. Like he's never going to win there. The amount of Edmonton fans that flooded my DMs saying me to go, you know what, and whatever. I'm like, wow. And then every other NHL fans loving it. Yeah, I had like 1,000 likes on it, but then 15, 20 Edmonton fans in my DMs telling me to. I
think in Edmonton they get a little touchy about that sort of thing.
How was the atmosphere at those games? Is it crazy at the Rexall still? Right, that's a pretty good arena, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful arena. And they have their Hall of Fame right in the building and everything. It's right downtown. I love it, except that it's surrounded by Edmonton.
Yeah, that's rough. That's a
no. I'm teasing.
No, Alberta. It's not a lot of a lot of dreariness there. A lot of
no. It just can be really cold. It's
really cold.
It's a nice little arena. It's right in the heart of downtown. There's a lot around there, so it's kind of a cool. I mean, if you're one of these Ranger fans that goes on these exotic trips to go see them play in far-flung places, it's not a bad place to go.
What's your favorite away arena?
Arena?
Yeah, like what's your favorite place to go away? That you would send a Ranger fan to, like, hey, you're going for a weekend trip, like
probably
this is the place. Nashville, yeah.
Nashville is probably the place, and Montreal. Those would be the 2 places I would say you have to go see. And Montreal is easy enough if you live in New York, you can drive there. Nashville's far. You'd probably have to get on a plane.
Montreal's got the Amtrak too, right out of Penn.
Yeah, they got train right there. Yep. In fact, the train station is around the corner from the arena, so it's easy. So that that's probably the one, and then in Nashville, that's probably 2. And depending on a lot of people like to go to Raleigh. There's not a lot around the arena, but it's close to the airport. It's an easy drive. I mean, driving there is easy. It's it's long, but it's easy.
Can you get tickets as a New Yorker? I thought they closed it up to New York fans.
Always a lot of blue in Raleigh when you go there for Ranger games.
That was the whole thing last year, the playoffs, that you couldn't buy a ticket if you had a New York zip code.
Yeah, they get away. You get around it.
I think the Rangers have won 4 straight against Carolina now. After last year, the playoffs, and
yeah, I guess so.
They've had their number a little bit here this year.
Yeah, we'll
It's a
see.
good
I mean,
thing.
with Carolina, it's not about the regular season, right? It's about what happens if you meet them in the postseason.
And right now,
But it's New Jersey first, right? Because
I would say right now it's the Devils that you're looking at.
New Jersey in that first round.
How great would that be, huh? Rangers Devils first round.
I'm into it. Let's do
Right?
it. Let's do
Hey,
it.
good for me. Cheaper tickets at the Prudential Center than MSG for playoff tickets. Since you won't give me that Newsday badge, so I can sneak into the media lounge.
Yeah, well, it's not. You know what they do this year. It's we get to eat the garden food, which is kind of neat. It's an idea whose time has come. I think they give us food vouchers instead of feeding us in a workroom, and it's been great. So we get to sample what the people are eating.
What's the best thing you've eaten this year?
I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff. The prime rib sandwich is high on the list of stuff that people recommend. I like there's a cheesesteak at the Italian meatball place that I like. There's the Carnegie Deli is good. It's all good stuff. I like there's a teriyaki place where you can get a chicken teriyaki bowl and then also get a tuna burger or something, which I like. And
so do the away guys get that too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now are there other arenas that do that, or is MSG one of the first to do that?
MSG, I think, was the first to do it. I think Washington. I'm told that they do it in Washington now too, but we haven't been there yet, so we'll see.
How was the Islanders' new spread? Is that good up there? The new arena there?
Islanders is good. Yeah, no, Islanders it's a nice arena. I really like it.
They bring bagels out or from the Blue Line Deli, whatever it's called there. Bring
No,
a schmear, bring a bagel and a schmear for the game.
It's not. It's they take care of us, and the media meal is nice, but also for real folks that are going there, the paying customers. I mean, they got a lot of food options too. It's really good. I really like that. I mean, if you haven't been there,
I've not been there. I haven't been there yet. Well, the Rangers only play there once a year now, so it's the stupid schedule with the NHL. So
I know.
It's tough for me. It's tough for me to go to an Islander game. I gotta go see the Islanders play the Panthers. I want to do that.
You don't want to do that.
I don't. That's a waste.
Well, we got to get them into the playoffs, and then we can do it for the playoffs.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, I don't know what ticket price will be there for.
Well, okay. Listen, I had a lot of fun, and I would keep talking, but I gotta go.
No problem. Go to practice.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Colin, for jumping on. Again, I texted him last thing this morning. Didn't even know he was in Vancouver, so I probably texted him at 6 a.m. this morning to come on the show. And yeah, he's great. I love having him on, getting his insight. I can't even tell you how many times he's been on now, either 4 or 5 times, whatever it is. But he's does such a good job covering the team, and I really appreciate him always taking the time to come on the show. So thank you to Colin again for coming on. And that does it for episode 119 of the Broadway Hat Podcast. Thank you to all of our new followers. And we had 3 new reviews this last week on our Apple site. So please make sure you go and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. Every 5-star review, we do receive $1 donated to Alex's Lemonade Foundation. So thank you to everyone who's done that. If you haven't, please literally takes 10 seconds out of your day. Leave us a 5-star review. $1 is donated to help fight pediatric cancer, an amazing cause. So thank you to everyone who's done it so far. Make sure you go and subscribe to the show on Spotify and leave us a 5-star review there as well. You can find the show on Google Play, Pandora, Amazon Music, Spreaker, anywhere you get your podcast, you can find us there. Make sure you go on social media and find us on Instagram and Facebook at the Broadway Hat Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at the Broadway Hat. You can find my personal Twitter account at KHallNY for all New York Ranger updates. We have some new articles coming out on bellyupsports.com about the trades. So make sure you go check us out on bellyupsports.com. Go search for Kyle Hall. You can find my articles there on the NHL page. And also make sure you subscribe to the show on YouTube as well, at the Broadway Hat Pod on YouTube. Search for our channel there where we have all our full episodes, clips of the show, highlights of the players who've come on our show. Just fun stuff there, so make sure you go check that out. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.